Hey everybody, today we are talking all about the machine. Yes, we're hanging out with Carlos Tribino. So happy to have him on because he's working on some really cool stuff. And before we get started, got to introduce myself, of course. I'm Jonathan Kersing with the Pittsburgh Technology Council and Tech Vibe Radio. And our one mic stand interviews, they just charge me up because I'm hanging out with people like Carlos who are building really cool companies and not just, I mean, companies that are just like with what Carlos is doing as we'll explore can really be transformative to helping a company move, other companies move forward. Because this guy is all about some crazy cool marketing stuff. So, Carlos, welcome to the show today. Thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate your time.
Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for having me over. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. First off, I love the name of your new company, man. It's right to the point. The Machine, man. I think it works
Thanks.
so well. I'm like, that's right. It's like all business.
Yeah. So we know you want to tell you the origin, the story of the name?
Yeah, tell me. I love origin stories on names. It's people.
So we came up with the machine because one of our key talents here is like really finding out what is the mojo of a brand, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes the very founders don't even know it.
I've seen that. Yes.
In their own day to day. So what we do is we really find that sweet spot that makes them different. And we use the machine because the machine at its most basic level, it takes advantage of what's called the mechanical advantage, right? The mechanical advantage is what makes a machine empower things to an exponential degree, right?
Right.
And essentially, imagine this: the mechanical advantage is like if you have a seesaw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two kids at each end.
Yeah.
And you have what's called the fulcrum right in the middle.
Exactly.
If the two kids weigh the same thing, it'll stay balanced, right?
Right.
So what you want to do is push the fulcrum all the way to the other end. So then all of a sudden, you can have a small child lift the weight of a heavy adult.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what we do is we find that sweet spot for the brand that with a lot less investment, you can make a much higher impact. And it puts you kind of in a David and Goliath situation, where you don't want to fight, you don't want to fight a competitor that's much bigger than you under the same terms. You want to find that angle,
exactly,
be a lot stronger and use that to your advantage. And that's what we do for brands. We find that sweet spot that makes them a lot stronger and relevant.
See, only you would think of that. That's why I think it's so cool. And by telling us the origin of the name of your company, it gives us a really cool understanding about what it is that you guys do. Before we jump into that, people need to know who Carlos is because your background is pretty freaking wicked, man. Like, I mean, you've worked for some major brands and have moved some major weights around, for lack of a better term. Tell us, who is Carlos and some of the cool things you've done in the past and what's led up to you forming the machine and how you can take all the experience you have and help brands, even like the Pittsburgh Tech Council, like get on that seesaw and lift some serious weight and fling our competitors, right?
So I have been over 20 years experience working. I have a mix of both agency side and client side, about half and half. I've worked at companies like Viacom, running marketing for MTV and Nickelodeon and Paramount and Comedy Central in Europe. And then I worked at some of the bigger branding firms like the branding arm of TBWA, which is part of the one of the big Madison Avenue shops. Running a team of over 50 people there, but I've been lucky that I've had the chance of working with some of the best brands out there, and not only that, but doing really cool stuff for them. Like I worked with Ferrari, with Giorgio Armani, with WebMD, whiskey.
Ferrari. Let's talk about that real quick. What were you doing with Ferrari, man? Come on.
Ferrari, we kind of did a rebrand for them, and we did a promotional push where you can't sell.
How do you rebrand Ferrari, dude?
I know. Well, we did. You don't sell a Ferrari with an ad magazine, right? With a magazine ad, sorry. So we did this whole kind of repositioning of the brand and making it like kind of leveraging their Formula One heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And really, because they were under competing with Maserati and Lamborghini and even the higher end BMWs and Porsches and whatnot. So we carved a unique space that say you get the technology and the service actually that a Formula One car gets. And then we created, rather than running ads, we created a book which we call Rosso. Rosso in Italian means red.
Of course, absolutely, love it.
It was a coffee table book, and we did a couple of editions a year. and you distribute it to, all of their customers for free. And of course, people will probably, display them in their homes.
So their other friends can see what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. So it was all about
Clever.
it was all about raising the game within the high-end luxury car market without advertising. Just
See,
doing something
that is
cool.
cool, man. That's why you have the machine, because only a machine can do something like that. I think the average place would be like, well, you want to buy ads in these influential magazines where rich people read them and they'll want to buy your cars. But you're going deeper than that. Really
Right. And actually, that, I'm glad you bring that up, because what we do precisely the machine is we minimize your need to rely on advertising dollars.
As much as I like that, I hate that too. Because I saw magazine advertising on the side. We'll talk later. That's all good.
So yeah, you'll never eliminate it. You still have to do advertising,
Of course,
of course, Google and whatnot, but you rely less on it as opposed to more, because you get more. What we do is essentially try to convert your customers into fans, and then fans will get the word out and they will recruit more customers to the brand, and they will have more repeat purchases, increasing their lifetime value, right?
Right. You're creating brand ambassadors, right, that are out there.
Exactly. Yeah. And you create as many brand ambassadors as you want. And as you can imagine, Ferrari is a brand that has a ton of brand ambassadors, right?
Absolutely. And I'm assuming they gave you a car to drive around for a while just to really absorb the brand, right? Like a nice shifter, like maybe
even more. We got a 10% discount. So
even
as you can imagine, we bought 2 of them,
just 2. Come on, man.
I was hoping for a half, 50% or something, but anyway. Yeah. We got to drive, check out the facility. You could eat off the ground at the.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It's immaculate. It's just so cool, man. It's so cool. So when you said you worked for Ferrari, I'm like, man, that is not messing around. And your background is insane, which is why I think it's so cool that like you're taking your 20 years of experience and now you're bringing this to Pittsburgh's tech community and beyond. I mean, obviously you're working with people, around the country, around the world, but you're based here in Pittsburgh, which I love. And you're just so accessible to Pittsburgh companies. And I think they need your help. We all need your help, because I think many of us, like, we've had a brand for a while and we realize that, especially through the whole Corona thing, maybe it's time for a rebrand at this point, right? Maybe it's time to be moving things ahead. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, look, the reason why, we started the machine is because it kind of brings together two very personal passions. One of them is the whole branding that we've been talking about, right? And that experience. And the other one is I've been through also a number of tech startups, and 2 of them here in Pittsburgh. Exactly. At the Walt LLC with GiftYa, with giftcards.com, which we sold back in 2016. It was a great experience. And I see a really cool, interesting, thriving tech, environment, ecosystem going on here in Pittsburgh. You guys, by the way, are, Audrey and you and the team are doing an awesome job.
Thank you. We're trying.
I really mean that. I mean, you guys are killing it. And and I think they're, in automated operations, in robotics, in artificial intelligence, and there's all these areas that are really transforming, the economy towards the future. And you guys are right at the peak there. You're like totally at the peak of that mountain. And so a lot of really, really cool companies here. And but you know what? When I was running a branding agency in Madison Avenue in New York, we had these big teams, big overhead. There wasn't any such a thing as telecommuting or anything like that.
Exactly.
And the fees were frankly through the roof. So you had to be an Armani or a Ferrari or a Walt Disney to work with us, right?
Right.
The model that I built around the machine here, look, I get a lot more excitement working with a tech startup here than with another with a toothpaste company, right? I want to work with companies. I want to change the world in one way or another, or at minimum change your industries, right? And there's a lot of that cool stuff going on in Pittsburgh now. So the way I built the model is that you can get the exact same service and quality of work that Armani and all those guys and Ferrari and all those guys, MTV.
Love it.
But I built a model that because there's not a lot of overhead, and because I have a flexible kind of creative approach to fees that I think are attractive to startups. All of a sudden, you make it worthwhile and affordable, and
it's so cool you're doing that. Yeah,
so
it's so needed. It's so needed because I mean, over my decades of covering tech, I just see so many companies that have missed the mark, and they had an awesome product, but the way they were getting it out was just not hitting it. And it was just so obvious to me. I was like, man, I need a side gig like helping these folks, because I was like, oh, geez. And I think a lot of that's because there wasn't, a Carlos, there wasn't a machine that was in Pittsburgh as a way to kind of help be able to work with a smaller company that doesn't have a huge budget and still provide that, you said, the level you're going to give to a Ferrari as far as that is.
Right. Right. And, addressing also at the point the second part of your question about COVID-19, and even now what we have going on, with all the riots and all the craziness that we're living through, companies, companies usually need to, at some point address changes in society, technology, and so forth. So that's when a rebrand sometimes comes into play. And a rebrand, by the way, I think there's a lot of conception that a rebrand, or branding even, is all about the logo and the message. Branding is all about, the customer experience.
Right.
The first point of branding, as a matter of fact, starts with employees. Employees deliver the brand experience. So there's this whole, discipline around, the culture of the company, the training, the materials, that everybody being, all stakeholders being on board. It's a much bigger project than just, hey, we're doing a pretty logo for you, right? So yeah,
I like a new logo. Come on. They're so shiny and new.
Well, that's a face. Everybody's loved that. There's a lot of internal stuff and behind the scenes work that makes that logo mean what you want.
That's the hard stuff. Come up with logos, you can do that, but to have the actual thing that's going to drive that logo, that's what really counts.
Yeah. So I think, times like now, it requires companies to be, to be sensitive and to be thoughtful and to come up with an authentic and new message. Like right now, I was having a conversation the other day with someone and saying, what's the impact of this in luxury brands? Think about it. Who's thinking right now of a Gucci pair of shoes or an Armani suit with all the stuff that's happening, right? So how do you deliver the message now? What do you do with something? One thing I thought it was interesting, Goldman Sachs, if you look at their homepage, okay, Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest investment banks in the world.
Yeah.
Their homepage, it's a blue blank page, and it all says it's COVID-19, and that's it.
Wow. See?
And it has a little link showing some of in it, but they're not, tooting their horn or anything. It has a very discreet link saying what kinds of things they're doing to help out and so forth, right? And I think it's great that companies do stuff like that, but that requires pivoting, right? And that requires saying, okay, we've got this, we're dealing with this situation. How do we face it? And usually you got to move pretty fast, but most importantly, you've got to be authentic and have to be real.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? For a while, there were some brands that were manipulating their logos during the COVID period to to separate them to kind of show social distancing. Like VW moved the V and the W apart, and I think Audi put rings up or something weird like that.
Yeah.
Lots of good and negative about that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I've seen a couple of them. I think it comes from a good place. I think I appreciate it. I think it's delivering the message. A lot of people in many countries, right, have been very hesitant or not as conscious about creating that social distancing, right? So I think using your logo to deliver the message it's a good public message. I don't see anything. I don't think that's exploitation of the situation.
Right. Okay, cool.
I think it's more of like, hey, we too are on board delivering a message, and we're going to play a little bit with our logo to kind of encourage people to do that.
Show that you're thinking about it, you care, and that it's important and everything like
that. Yeah, exactly. I think companies sometimes, I always advise, clients, and I think most people are cautious about that, not to get political with your brands or to get over the top political.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do have to take a stance. I remember a few years ago, I was interviewed in the BBC, and there was this whole craziness that happened with Procter & Gamble, because they had made a statement supporting the gay and lesbian community, and a lot of criticism, right, from some groups. And you're never going to make everybody happy, but I think you got to stick to your values and you have to be real. And I appreciate that they did that, because they have a lot of customers and employees in that group. And if you're promoting a culture of tolerance and diversity and whatnot, you have to do that, right? And some people may not like it, and you have to live with that, and the brand needs to live with that. But you have to be true to and authentic to your values and your principles.
Yeah. So how soon should a startup be thinking about brand? I say from day one, it's got to be ingrained. It can't be like you get to a certain funding round and all of a sudden you got to develop your brand. I feel like if you're not starting really early with it, you're going to lose a lot of traction. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, look, it largely comes down, and that's why, we're excited about the machine. It largely comes down with accessibility and affordability, how it depends on whether you're, on the seed round or Series B or wherever you're at. My advice is always the earlier the better. By the way, there are a handful of brands that get it really well, man.
Yeah, tell me, who do you think is getting that well? Yeah,
there are a handful of brands that they just off the bat, they just do it well themselves. I don't know, some of them have worked with branding companies or not, but they're just really, they get it. They have a passion for it. They have the internal talent, and they hit it off well. Other brands need a little more help because, like I said, they're not able to, kind of find that spot where the biggest strength in terms of relative to the market and their competitors, right? So I think the earlier the better, because it also, among other things, it helps you early on in lowering your customer acquisition costs, and also it helps you get funding.
Well, if you're branding yourself, it makes investors attracted to you,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. VCs look at that stuff, or even early stage investors will look at that stuff and say, hey, this is a really polished brand. And again, it's not just the logo and the story.
Exactly.
It's, hey, these guys really got it together. They've got the whole vision internalized. It's in their values. It's in the way they work. It's in the way they interact with suppliers, with customers, with distributors. And they get it. They're onto something, and it makes you, it just makes you look that much better with all stakeholders, not just customers, right?
Definitely.
So I think the earlier the better, but obviously, there's a balance at some point where we say, well, you know what, we got bigger fish to fry. We just got to get out of our beta and get this thing before, and then we can move there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Who are some of those companies that you think are really doing it well? They're kind of in that startup, or just getting out of the box phase.
I think companies that I like, for instance, I think. Somebody like, Zoom obviously is a killer job.
Absolutely.
They nailed it. Talk about, you can't really say, it's hard to say they're not exploiting the situation. I don't think they are. I just think they were ready. They had the right tool. And you know what? There's plenty of platforms there, man. You got Hangouts, you got Skype, whatever. One of the things about Zoom is why is everybody using it? The first thing, it works.
Exactly. And it's intuitive. It's easy to use for the most part.
It's easy, it works, but then, they've added bells and whistles. They've got the backgrounds that people are playing with. They've added an element of entertainment and self-expression and whatnot. But more than anything, they are, the easiest, most interesting and kind of powerful, video platform. So it's not about their logo. I think their logo is fine. But I don't think it's about the experience that they provide. And I like the way they've done that and the way they've grown and developed. I've seen a bunch of other companies in the space, and these guys have done it, over the years have done a great job. They just now skyrocketed because of the situation, but they've been at it for a while. Absolutely. And I like them. Another, one company that I really like here in Pittsburgh, actually, is Burgatory.
Hey, I like Burgatory.
I remember when Shake Shack opened way back then, and everybody was huge press, and all over the country and whatnot. As far as I'm concerned, these guys kick their butt. I think they're so nicely put together. Messaging, their sense of humor, their experience, the customization of the burgers, the quality of the food, even the customization from one location to the other. The one, by the Steelers Stadium has all this fun and play about the game and whatnot. They do a killer job. They do a really nice job. And I don't know if it was pure internally or
we need to get them on so we can ask them. because I agree with you. Their vibe is consistent across the restaurants. And it's a good vibe that makes you want to eat, and it feels exciting when you're in there, and you can tell there's consistency. Without a doubt. Plus, their burgers are pretty darn good as well, too.
Pretty good, yeah.
I'm a total fan of their Impossible Burger, and I can't wait for them to open up again and get one, because you're making me hungry talking about it.
Let's go after the COVID's over.
Absolutely, man. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Tell me some stories, or if you have one or two, about working on a rebrand with the company, and how that really was able to see real financial benefits from that afterwards, where, you can see you made these key changes more than just the logo, obviously. And then as they rolled forward, you could actually see this complete KPI kind of happening at that point.
Right. So yeah, sure. So I have to give you a couple of examples, but one of them is, when we did, Armani exchange, which was, this was a little more obvious because it's a new brand launch.
Okay.
And to be totally frank, that the idea came from Armani, not from us. But they said, hey, we need to break ground into a lower price point. We can only sell so many, $10,000 dresses, right? So we essentially created the Armani Exchange brand, which at the time was the first casual fashion brand. Then a lot of brands followed, but we broke
Okay. Yeah, that was the first.
ground with that,
See,
which
one
was
more
great.
reason why I say talk to Carlos if you got some branding issues, because you've been there, done that, man.
So we created the Armani. We created it from scratch. We came up with the name, the logo, the positioning, some of the ads. We launched the website, the initial website early on, and so forth. And it was a massive success, to the extent, like I said, that it actually created the casual, fashion
Right.
kind of business. And today, Armani, they barely touched their logo. They made a minor tweak in their font. That's it. And it's a multi-$100 million brand. They've got like 230 or so stores across the world in about 60 some countries or so.
Wow.
It was a huge financial gain from that. On another example, maybe less obvious, when you can get tangible financial gain, is WebMD, for instance. WebMD, we didn't do anything with our logo or anything. We just did an entire brand architecture project. So essentially, WebMD was a leading consumer platform for everything healthcare, right?
Freak yourself out if something hurts.
Yeah. And they, at the time, they had grown largely organic, but also through acquisitions, right? So they had bought this dental portal, and then they had this medical management portal for office admins and whatnot. But there were all these brands completely separate from each other, just under the same ownership, right? So we rebuilt our architecture to create 3 main portals, and every other future acquisition would fall into one of those as well. So everything became WebMD XYZ or WebMD ABC, whether it was the medical portal, the dental portal, or the office management.
Gotcha.
And then we created one tagline that worked across all of them, and that became their positioning. Because sometimes I think brands make the mistake. They're like, hey, if we're talking to doctors, we need this message.
Right.
So you need one message that just really hits it home, And we came with like really resonating thing that even worked with investors, which is healthcare simplified. There's nothing simple about healthcare, and it's a very stressful, right, process throughout. So it was an umbrella message that worked for all brands, and then we built vertical narratives for each vertical after that. Right.
Very cool.
Now this got them a tremendous amount of benefits, financial benefits, in referrals, in consumers crossing from one service to the other, in promoting just one brand and not 17.
Exactly. It makes the world more streamlined and simplified, right?
Huge cost savings and in both in promotion and customer acquisition as well.
Wow. See, this is why I'm so glad you're here in Pittsburgh, because your brain is here to help and the machine is all fired up and ready to go. I really encourage everybody to reach out. We got your website in the liner notes here, and machine.biz, right?
Yep, that's right.
Just as simple as that. And I really encourage people to reach out, because I know you're willing to talk to anybody and just see what's kind of going on. And before I let you go, any other Pittsburgh brands that you think are pretty cool, that are hitting out of the park and doing well?
Yeah, one brand that I really like is Duolingo.
Oh yeah, it's so clean and crisp, man. Yeah,
it's so consistent. I've tried it just for but polishing out my French. And it's kind of forgotten. So it just works so cool and friendly, and I love what they've done. I don't know if this is on. I imagine it's by design, but they have the owl that they call Duo, which is I think it's a play on Búho, which is owl in Spanish. And I know Luis is from Guatemala, so I'm guessing maybe that's what it came
I'm
from.
assuming there's something going on there. He's clever.
But I'm guessing that I feel it's such a languages, like many other things, are tough too. They're a little stressful. People are you mess up here and there. You stress out when you're trying to communicate with other people and whatnot. And the way they build the whole experience, even the email reminders, or even the little, when you forget to like do your lesson, the little owl will come, the little tears. It's just the way they've done. It's very cute. It's very, very friendly, and the app is pretty cool. I mean,
the app's killer, dude. No,
I love the brand. I love what they've done, and it's incredibly consistent throughout. It's got, you know, it's got spirit, it's got soul. The brand.
I like it, man. So cool. Well, you can give other brands spirit and soul as well too. That's why I encourage folks to come out and talk to you, Carlos. Thanks for taking the time. I learned so much talking to you. Just with our conversation, you're giving me some ideas. So so
Thanks,
good. So good to hang out with you.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. And by the way, again, you know, just I really mean this. You guys are doing a killer job there, and I love what you're doing throughout this tough time. And you know, just keep it up. You know, raising the flag for the tech community here.
Thanks, man. Absolutely.